8 wins, 0 draws, and 0 losses. Well, now 1 loss. FC Barcelona have been looking unstoppable in the league. That is until they went up against Osasuna. But forget about that. In all honesty, Hansi Flick has been doing an incredible job with this team. Seriously, it's a miracle. Just look at their injury list. Will they continue with this form? If they do, Barcelona could end up with a 99-point season in La Liga. Look, no one is sure, but one thing I can say with certainty is that this team's results are looking solid. And having said all of this, I don't think Barcelona can win the league this year. Like I said, their results look good, but it just doesn't paint the full picture. They really are a ticking time bomb of a team. And now that Lamine got injured during the international break, and you compound that with their already worrying list of absentees, I'm starting to think that all these problems will quickly become too much to handle for the club, especially when looking at some of their fast approaching fixtures. Even with a full healthy squad, Barca still wouldn't have the depth needed to go far in the Champions League, all the while topping the league. Just take a look at the past few Champions League winners. Real Madrid had incredible depth in all positions when they won it back in 2024. In my opinion, they didn't have as much depth in 2022, but the depth was still there. While Manchester City, look, I don't even have to explain this one. They have a completely stacked squad. Even that Chelsea team that won the Champions League back in 2021 had quite the bench. Why am I putting such an emphasis on squad depth? Well, because if you want to compete in all competitions, in this football landscape, you're going to have some really solid bench players on your team. If you don't have those bench players, your stars will play way too much and eventually become injured. Just take a look at Barcelona's injury list right now. This is not good. And realistically, if this trend of key players getting injured continues, something will have to give. And it did. Hansi Flick rightfully decided to rest players during that Osasuna game so they could stay fresh for the Champions League game. I mean, they were going up against the young boys. And since Barca has such a thin squad as it is, Hansi had to start players who, in all honesty, should never start or even be considered for the Barcelona first team. Look, I don't even know who these players are. This is simply not sustainable. However, there is somewhat of a silver lining. If Barcelona get eliminated early in the Champions League again this season, they could focus fully on the league. Probably, in turn, winning the whole thing. But happily or sadly, depending on who I'm talking to, I think Barca will make a deep run into the Champions League this year. Meaning that they will have to put more of their energy into the more difficult competition, leaving La Liga on the back burner, which is something their squad simply can't handle. It may seem like I'm being too harsh on Barcelona, but in this day and age, you have to have a world-class starting 11 and a world-class bench in order to win all the trophies. And a club of Barcelona's size would naturally want to win everything. But for a team with such a poor board of directors, and frankly a mediocre bench at best, I realistically can't see them going far in all competitions. It's the classic case of chasing 2 rabbits at the same time and catching none. One thing Barca does have going for them is the undeniable fact that when all their players are fit, they have a world-class starting 11. I mean, look at this team. Ter Stegen in goal, the BACK on defense, Olmo, De Jong, and Pedri in the midfield, with Gavi and Fermin looking to come on from the bench, with a front 3 of the veteran Lewandowski, a Rafinha entering the best form of his career, and the star boy of all star boys, Lamine Yamal. Undeniably, this team is amazing, especially with Hansi Flick at the helm. But wait, let's take injuries into account. Ter Stegen is out for the season. Now, Barcelona having Iñaki Peña, which, I guess he's a goalkeeper. Barcelona also just brought out Wojciech Szczesny, black lung chronic smoker, from retirement. Which I'm also having my doubts about this guy because, I mean, he was retired. Christensen and Araujo are out for a while, and with some pretty serious injuries at that. So even when they get back, they will need to regain their lost form. Olmo, De Jong, and Pedri are well known for living it up in the hospital. Seriously, give me a more injury-prone midfield than the one that I just mentioned. Not to mention, Gavi is still recovering from one of the worst injuries a footballer can get, so he can't be rushed back into the game. Fermin is also injured, and now just to add insult to injury, Lamine Yamal just got injured in this international break. Lewandowski is looking good, but let's not forget that he's getting up there in age. And Yamal, when he gets over his injury, is 17. Let's not forget that. And if you expect or are okay with a 17-year-old Lamine Yamal carrying this Barcelona squad, you're just begging for another Ansu Fati situation to happen to this lad. And lastly, Rafinha. Well, Rafinha is in the best form of his whole career, which is a good thing. Let's hope he carries on with this incredible season he's having. This massive injury mess is only happening because the Barcelona board is completely incompetent, and they over-rely on La Masia graduates, which in the past, Barcelona have played their best football with their La Masia graduates along with other world-class players supplementing their team. But in the past, Barcelona didn't have to play all of these games, transfer prices were not ridiculously high, and also they had Messi, which is nice to have, since Barcelona don't have the funds anymore to bring in world-class players to help out their La Masia graduates, and all of their La Masia graduates are really young. It puts FC Barcelona in quite the pickle, which makes it all the more impressive that Hansi Flick is currently 8-4-9 in La Liga. Honestly, with all the backstage issues and injuries that this club has been enduring, it would be wild for them to go on to win La Liga. If they manage to win the league, Hansi would be seen as the best coach in the world for 2025. This situation is giving me Mourinho vibes from when he said that coming in second with Manchester United in 2018 was the greatest accomplishment in his career. Don't hate me for this, Barcelona fans, but my hot take is, as things are going right now, the best bet to win the league for Barcelona this year is to either crash out of the Champions League so you could fully focus on La Liga, like what happened in 2023, or hope that Hansi Flick can have an all-time managerial season. Now, if Barcelona end up winning the treble, just save this video and come and clown me at the end of the season. That being said, Barcelona's own inner turmoil is not the only thing they have to worry about in regards to winning La Liga. While Atletico and Real Madrid are inconsistent and frankly kind of ass, they are slowly getting more consistent with their performances. And it seems like Atletico are immune from the injury plague that is going on in world football for the time being, because they only have one injury, Azpilicueta, while Real Madrid are second only to City in squad, and honestly, even that is debatable. What I'm trying to say is that if Barcelona start dropping points in this period, where a good chunk of their squad is injured, I'd find it very difficult for them to keep up with these two teams once they have adapted well. From now to winter break, Barcelona has to go full force in La Liga if they want to stay in the title race, because they simply can't compete with Madrid's squad depth or Atleti's injury luck. It's a tough predicament to be in, especially when you see that they have to play Bayern Munich and Real Madrid back to back. I believe that depending on how Barcelona do in these games, it will dictate how their campaign will ultimately go. If they could beat their European rivals and Real Madrid in the Bernabeu, the sky's the limit for this team. But taking into account everything that I have said so far, I believe that this will be too steep of a challenge for Barca. One thing is beating Valladolid 7-0, and the other is beating Real Madrid or Bayern. Just mark my words, once their fixtures get congested and Barca's squad starts getting fatigued, we're going to see a lot more games like Barca's visit to Pamplona, especially towards the end of the season, where not only do you have to play a bunch of games, but the quality of your rivals also increases. Some of you might be thinking, why am I not talking too much about Atleti? The only thing I've said about them so far is that they are lucky for not getting injured. But the truth is, I fully expect Barca to mop the floor with Atletico de Madrid. That's just how things have been in La Liga for these past few years. Barca gets smirked by Madrid, Madrid get humbled by Atleti, and Atleti have their hopes crushed by Barcelona. A weird cycle that doesn't make much sense, but that was the common theme last year. The only person who could break this cycle of madness is Hansi Flick. He really is the key to this whole thing. Can he do it? I guess we'll just have to wait for the end of October to come around. Either way, if Barcelona don't get their injury issues straightened out, I fear for the rest of their season. Anyway, that's the video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If you want to see more of me, leave this video a like, and do me a favor by subscribing. Have a good rest of your day.